It is day number 12 of our Black History Month, so let's talk about some history that happened on this day, 1946. Let's talk about an incident that helped galvanize the civil rights movement and also inspired a film by Orson Welles called Touch of Evil. So on this day in 1946, Army Sergeant Isaac Woodard was severely beaten by a South Carolina police officer that caused him to lose vision in both of his eyes. So on this particular day, Sergeant Woodard, he was on a Greyhound bus. He was traveling from Camp Gordon, which is in Augusta, Georgia, and he was traveling to North Carolina to be with his family. So the bus stopped right outside of Augusta, and Woodard asked the bus driver if there was time for him to get off and use the bathroom. Now, the bus driver agreed, but I guess there was an argument before the bus driver said, yes, you can. So Woodard got off, he used the restroom, he got back on, the bus took off with no incidents. So the bus stopped again in Batesburg, South Carolina. And though Woodard didn't cause any incidents, the ride had gone smoothly up until then, the bus driver decided to call the local police once they got there. So once the bus driver contacted the local police, this included the chief of police who responded, and his name was Linwood Shaw, who forcibly removed Sergeant Woodard from the bus. Now, the group of police officers, including the chief of police, Linwood Shaw, they were demanding to see Woodard's discharge papers. They ended up taking him to an alley where they repeatedly beat him with their nightsticks. Sounds familiar. So after they beat him, they arrested him, took him to jail for disorderly conduct, and accused him of drinking beer in the back of the bus along with some other soldiers. Now, mind you, it was just him that was charged with disorderly conduct. None of the other soldiers that they claimed were drinking beer in the back of the bus. Now, in his court testimony, it says that he was repeatedly hit in the eyes on his way to jail and also while he was there. Now, after all this trauma of being beaten in the alley, arrested, and then, hit in the eyes, he was taken before a judge the next day who found him guilty and fined him $50. So he did request some medical attention. He asked to be, see a doctor, but it took 2 days for them to get him some medical assistance. Now, being beaten in the head and, in the head area, he suffered some amnesia, so he didn't know where he was. So he did end up in a hospital in Aiken, South Carolina, where he received subpar treatment. So 3 weeks after this incident, his family's been looking for him. They finally find him in this hospital, and they immediately have him rushed to an Army hospital in Spartanburg, South Carolina. So we got to remember, he was an Army officer, so the feds did get involved. It took 7 months. The NAACP was involved, and there was an investigation that happened on October 2nd. The chief of police, Shaw, and several officers, they were indicted in the U.S. District Court in Columbia, South Carolina. So just a little side note to the feds getting involved. So the biggest reason why they were involved wasn't because Woodard was a officer in the military, right? We got to remember the year that this happened. It was because the assault happened on a bus stop that was on federal property, and Woodard also had on his uniform. Go figure. So on November 5th, it took 30 minutes for deliberation in court, and they found Shaw not guilty on all charges, even though he admitted to blinding Woodard. Injustices, as we all know, have been happening for such a long time. And as I said earlier, this whole traumatic event did inspire Orson Welles, his film, Touch of Evil. So it was inspired off of this case. And I believe the film came out in 1955. Again, another Black history fact. Again, as I always say, we have to know our past so we can trailblaze our future. Keep that in mind, and as always, stay woke